Oh, yeah, someplace. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
First, 73, appointment, DPW. Mr. Sagarino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DPW Director Brian White's here with an appointment for the board.
Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Board.
Hi, Brian.
So I'm here to provide a recommendation for one of our vacancies, a special motor equipment operator in our highway division. After conducting interviews, I'm going to recommend Mr. Samuel Arsenault for this position. Mr. Arsenault was in the United States Marines from 2013 to 2017. He served as an infantry machine gunner, team leader, as well as a squad leader. Following the Marine Corps, Sam worked for Monarch Paving in Burlington. He has experience driving 10-wheel dump trucks, as well as loading and unloading equipment trailers. Also has experience with other equipment. Sam has earned his associate's degree in general studies from Massachusetts Bay Community College, and also possesses his Class A commercial driver's license. He also grew up in Burlington and was a student at Burlington High School. I think with Sam's leadership experience, as well as his experience with the Marines, I think he'll be a great fit for Burlington.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. This is, we're doing this contingent upon, we're waiting on a physical, or is that stuff come in yet, or?
I'm not quite sure yet, but it would obviously be contingent on passing DOT physical and with all the pre-employment
Thanks, Brian.
items.
With Brian's recommendation, I wish to appoint Samuel Arsenault to the position of Special Motor Equipment Operator position in the Public Works Department, and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved. Second.
I'll move to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against? 500. Congratulations, Sam.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Make the circle, watch your feet. Don't trip on anything.
Nope, that's it. Just wanted the date. Thank you.
Yeah, the offer letter came in like Friday night, so.
No worries. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you for service.
Thank you. That's part of the agility test.
Yeah. Well, he just passed his contingency, so.
Right. All right. 74, discussion, Stamp Out Food Hunger Drive. Anybody have that, or?
People up on people.
I was looking for Janet. Sorry. I was like, I don't see her.
Could you guys just sign in, please, so that we have your information?
Ready?
I'm ready for you. We all are, actually.
My name is Jim Sheridan. I'm the Executive Director at People Helping People here in Burlington.
Jane McInich, I'm the president of the board.
I'm not sure what Janet signed us up for, but we just wanted to come and just give you guys a heads up of what is up and coming for People Helping People. So on May 5th, we have a Walk for Hunger up at the Burlington High School. It's from 10 o'clock to 12. It's about 12 laps around the football field. So it's obviously a fundraiser for People Helping People. We also have the Stamp Out for Hunger on May 11th, which is a national thing. It's all U.S. Post Office offices participate in this, or most. So it's basically a food drive for us. So all of the canned goods, all the non-perishables come to People Helping People, and we redistribute all of that food. I think the main reason she wanted us to come is she wanted us to throw down the gauntlet to challenge you guys. We're having a fundraiser in September. It's a Burlington Feud, so it's similar to Family Feud. And a bunch of departments throughout the town have signed up to be on the panels, so it's 8 teams of 5. So she wanted us to throw down the challenge to you guys to what was that?
You're good.
To see if you guys wanted to participate, or give you an opportunity to participate. So that's
What was the date of that one?
September 21st. And it's going to be held at the Billerica Elks
Okay.
from 5 to 8. So it'll be fun. And
Good money to see you guys participate in that together.
I would totally do a Family Feud style fundraiser. That sounds fantastic.
yeah,
five
it
of
should be
us?
fun.
Yeah.
We have
Well, it has been thrown down, so I guess we accept your challenge. I mean, you did that twice, very convincing.
Would you like to borrow this?
You got your gavel there, Joe?
Well, formal votes are necessary, but challenge accepted.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to pull the sword out of the stone. But no, I'm in if everyone else is in.
Yeah, you got me.
I'm in, absolutely in.
Sure. Let's do it.
We got
Awesome.
another team.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Just put us against an easy team. That's all.
We have a lower division, maybe we could get in.
Just make it on Hunt and I'll win everything. Anything else, I'll lose.
You want to take a minute while you have the TV audience, is there anything particular you need at the pantry? Is there any donations? I know sometimes you're pretty specific about some of the things that you guys are missing, and just give you the opportunity to appeal to the
Sure.
public.
Yeah. Julie, my pantry manager, she was going to come, and she knows all that. She's up to date on all that. But always looking for non-perishable canned goods, mac and cheese, cereals, any of those types of things, kind of the staple items. We always run low on them, and they're always a popular item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before you leave, I do want to say one thing. Listen, I think we got carried away with the possibility of being on Family Feud, or the Town Feud,
exciting,
whatever it is, but we do all appreciate everything you do for the food pantry. I mean, between the fundraisers and everything else, and there's a lot of people in this town that really, really do benefit from it.
Yeah, and
Well,
there's-
that's a big issue with it. So if any of the board members would like to make a comment on that, go right ahead. Anybody?
I just want to reiterate, you said there's an event on May 5th. What was that again?
The May
May-
5th is the Walk for Hunger.
Walk for Hunger, and is that at the high school? Is
We're
it-
participating in it's a large event that's hosted by Project Bread in Boston. So they do a big 20-mile walk in Boston, and then we do a smaller 3-mile walk here in Burlington. And 60% of the money that we raise come back to People Helping People. So it's a way for us to raise money and sort of lean on their sort of larger recognition as a nonprofit. So everybody, the whole town's invited to come out and walk with us Sunday morning. We start at 10 o'clock, and we just do a nice even 3 miles around the track.
It's not hard. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Which track?
The
At the high
Burlington
school.
High School.
Sunday morning. Okay? Thank you. Oh, you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just want to reiterate, very happy and impressed with the work you guys do in town for the people in need. I've heard stories, and you've really come through for people who have gone through some rough times, and I just want to say that your efforts are so appreciative and so wonderful for this community. It's just another one of those great things that makes Burlington great. And to Paul's point, I like when, is it Janet puts out on social media what your specific needs are, because then we share them around and on social media, and that gives people an idea of, what to bring, or if you're at the grocery and you happen to think of things, it's a good way to kind of help keep your stock shelved on all the different items. So definitely keep that up, and just keep up the great work. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Nick, go ahead.
Just
Hold on, no.
Just real quick, in terms of the Stamp Out Hunger event, is there anything that folks at home need to know about something they should do, or like how can folks make sure that they're involved?
So the way that it works is if your mail carrier is participating in the event, they will leave bags in your mailbox. If you don't see any bags in your mailbox, your carrier is not participating. So it's up to each individual carrier. But you literally just stuff the bag with non-perishables and leave it in your mailbox, and the mailman will take it to us. So they collect everything and bring it down to the pantry. So it's real easy.
In the event that someone's mail carrier is not participating, should they just reach out to people helping people directly?
They can, yeah, sure. Absolutely, yes. Yes, always welcome donations.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And just, I'd like to say, you talk about us and what we do. The people in Burlington are so generous, and we wouldn't be able to do half of what we do or all of what we do without the support of everyone in the town. So it's kudos to everyone in this town.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you've been down to the food pantry down on Murray Ave, but it's a phenomenal place. It's a well-run machine, so to speak. Jim and Julie did an unbelievable job, as well as the board. It's one of those things you really don't know about until you need, but it's not just in Sydney. I don't know if you've been down there or not, but it might be a great place for you to visit. But it's not just food. People helping people help residents of Burlington year-round through the holidays, the Covenant of Basic Needs. There's a whole slew of programs that they provide for residents that aren't just specific to food. But again, just thanks for all you do for the residents in this town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 75, approval, Burlington Baseball Softball Association Parade. Oh, Tom, it's you?
Randy?
Sir?
Evening, everybody.
Evening. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay.
I was reading it again.
Yeah, after a hiatus for a few years, the Board of Directors for Burlington Baseball and Softball are going to reinstitute the annual Little League Parade going from the Rec Department over to Simons Park. The scheduled time for that is Saturday morning, the 27th at 8 a.m.
Okay. This has been going on for years, so go ahead.
Tommy, do you have a rain date, just in case?
I don't believe we have a rain date. I mean, typically it's 30 degrees and raining anyways during the parade, so.
That was my only question.
Any other board members? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Don. Glad to see that this is coming back. It's a great tradition here in town. I remember doing it as a kid, and it was always a fun day. Quick question about what we have, the website. I've seen questions online about people not sure how to contact Burlington Baseball and Softball and to find out about T-ball. Is there any plan to upgrade the website, or who can people reach out to if they have questions for the organization?
So we just rolled out a new website. It should be up and running now. We just changed providers for the website.
Do you know what the site is?
I believe it's BBSA Online,
Okay,
but
cool.
I'm not 100%.
Okay, cool, awesome, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
Excited to attend. I got two kids who will be marching in that parade, so,
We'll get your raincoats and
yeah.
gloves, because Tommy says it's going to be 30 and raining, so.
Well, this is
So
an
far, it looks good. We'll see.
This is an approval. I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we approve the Burlington Baseball Softball Association Parade for April 27th.
Second by Jimmy, second by Nick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against, 500. Don't forget your umbrella.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
76 bond note. That would be Mr. Giannino. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Fine.
Looks like you're moving up the ladder here a little bit, huh?
I want to thank Lynn.
Don't we just save Gary for the end?
Really? We will next time.
Good evening to the chair and other members of the board. What you have before you this evening is the approval vote on a bond anticipation note, which is a one-year note for $8,918,847. Presently, we have a $12,200,000 band, which is due to mature on the 25th of April. And from that 12.2, we're rolling over basically 8.9 of that into another one-year rate. The coupon rate is 4.75 with a net interest cost of 3.64. Last year, the bond went out at 5% with a higher premium, so our net interest was actually a bit lower, but not anything material by any means. So, I don't know if I'm here to answer any questions on this. Larry?
Mr. Denizio.
Even though I promised Mr. Giannino I wouldn't butt in, and you know I just can't help myself. I just wanted to make one point that a couple meetings ago, we talked about the use of ARPA money to pay down some bans that were coming up. That we're using $6 million to pay down 2 of these bans that are rolling over. So now we're finally getting the benefit of all that. So going to save us quite a bit of money. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Paul, anything from you before I start?
Gary, could you just walk through some of the projects that make up this $12 million
Sure.
that we're paying off?
The Mass Works project, which has been authorized probably in 2022, we continued to, we had a bond anticipation of $4 million. We plan on spending $3.3 million. The water main replacement, which was authorized in May of 2021 for $1.5 million. The public safety communication plan, which was on last year's ban, is being paid down, as John talked about, through other means, so we're not refinancing that again. The sewer pump station, the Force Main, that was on the existing ban. We're not looking to move forward with that. The roads, parking lot, and sidewalks, $3.5 million. And the $628,000 relates to the Fox Hill feasibility study.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this is a big item, so we'll start with Jim. Any questions?
No, we've done this before.
Yeah.
It actually benefits
Yeah.
the town, so I have no questions.
Nick?
Any opportunity to save a few bucks by lowering the interest rate, right? We should absolutely seize that. So, Gary, thank you and your team. I'm sure John, Paul, you guys, had some involvement, but I'll thank Gary specifically.
John and Paul are very involved. Our Standard & Poor rating, Standard & Poor's continues to be AAA on the bond anticipation notes. We get the SP1+. As I was looking this over again, they talked, and I don't have the exact quote, but our rate is better than a sovereign country. So we have better credit. So
I'll take that.
I'll take that too.
That's great.
The interest rates on the, as it was presented by different possible buyers of the bond, were between 4.25% to 5%. When you take into consideration the premium we received, that's where we ended up agreeing on TD securities.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. No other questions? Thank you.
Oh, I said you had another question.
No, I said no other questions.
No other questions?
I want to make sure I close
So
out
you're
the
done?
page. I'm good, yeah.
No more questions?
No more questions.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to have another question?
I know you can come up with 10 more, but, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for all your work on this, Gary. Just a quick question. What's the difference between a coupon rate and the net interest cost?
You take, that's a good question. The premium that we received, in this case, in this bond, we received $99,000. So we're getting 8.9 plus the 99,000, so a little over $9 million. You factor that in over the course of the year, and that's where you get your net cost, your net interest cost.
Is that the coupon rate?
The coupon rate was 4.75
And that's the rate we agreed on for all the,
for the 8.9 million. So we're getting the 99,000 now. We'll put that into the interest bearing, and as we spend this money or have to repay the loan. On the 25th, we're going to be paying the $12.2 million off, and we have in there, it includes the interest due for the year of $600,000, so we'll be paying off $12.8 million. Getting in $9 million will actually reduce our cash by about close to $3 million.
thank you, Gary. Trying to get the sked down now for the next few years because it's going to get more fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We actually reviewed with bond counsel today some of the warrant articles that are in the May town meeting to make sure they were actually presented as recommended by Mr. Denizio, and we're in good stead with those.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
No questions.
No questions? I was just wondering if you got the coupon rate out of the paper. That's what I was going to ask you. All right. Seeing there being no more other questions. Yes, oh, I'm sorry.
Motion in the packet.
Right.
It doesn't have to be read, but there is some
Really?
shortened verbiage in there.
I was going to have Nick read the whole
Board to
thing.
use. On these ones, it's actually kind of important, the language, so if you could,
You ready, Nick?
I'm ready, Joe.
Okay. Do your thing.
I'd like to move that we adopt the vote prepared by bond counsel in connection with the sale of the town's bond anticipation notes.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against, 500. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary?
Have a good night. Last on the list next time. 77, warrant article, rec department. I see everybody's here tonight. Let's go. I say we ask Dave a lot of questions.
No.
He's already nervous, I can see it. Okay. Paul?
thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to Brendan, Kelly, and the commissioners for coming to the meeting tonight. There's a couple you can't see from TV. Thank you for coming up. I had spoken to Brendan earlier. There's a couple of big recreation articles on the warrant, and they would like to present them to the board and ask the board if you're interested in taking a position on those articles. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brendan and Dave.
All right, thank you. Yes, these are two articles that we are hoping that the Select Board supports. And I'm going to go through them one at a time. If you don't mind the order, I'm going to start with Overlook Park, which was the former home of the Parks and Recreation Maintenance Garage. And you know, we are in a new facility down on 10 Great Meadow. So Overlook Park was purchased by the town through the Board of Selectmen in 1964 through the Federal Property and Administrative Services Act of 1949 for the sum of $3,700. The purpose was to be used for public park and recreation purposes. Currently, it's designated as Chapter 97 money, which means it can only be used for conservation or recreation purposes. So we have applied for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which is a federal grant, and it's a reimbursement program administered by the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs on behalf of the National Park Service, which is the division of the Federal Department of Interior. So municipalities are invited to submit proposals for development of public outdoor recreation areas and facilities. If we are selected, so we have an active grant in, we're hoping to hear, I think, within the next week or so. But if selected to receive the grant funding, municipalities must appropriate 100% of the total project cost, and the town is responsible for appropriating the full $2.3 million, which is our request. And if awarded, the Land and Water Conservation Fund program will reimburse the town up to $1 million upon the project's completion. This is very similar to the park grant that brought the town Wildwood Park. So the grant requires certain items be approved by a vote at town meeting. And I shared the warrant article language earlier, but we are asking the select board to support the warrant article for May town meeting. And what that warrant article would do, it allows the Recreation Commission to be authorized to file on behalf of the town of Burlington and any and all applications deemed necessary for the grants and for reimbursements. It allows the Select Board and the Rec Commission to be authorized to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary on behalf of the town of Burlington, and then it authorizes us to expend the funds if we do get them. The warrant article was drafted through the language required in the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application, and was drafted through Town Council. Lisa Mead, to meet all those expectations. So it will require a 2/3 vote at town meeting, but we wanted to make sure we had the support of the select board prior to going to town meeting, and hopefully prior to being successful with a reimbursement of $1 million.
Brenda, would you mind just walking through what phase one of this project,
Sure.
some of those improvements would be?
Yes. So one of the big items with the grant is accessibility. They're looking to make sure people have access to outdoor recreation facilities and that they are accessible. So we are looking at redeveloping basically the Overlook Park site. The existing buildings will stay. We will be adding a new playground, accessible trails that will get a person with that may have a mobility issue with a disability up to the top, which, as anyone that's been up there knows, that's kind of the best view in the good weather. You can catch the city of Boston at times. We're adding stormwater management to the property, a number of different areas. We're replanting trees. We're creating an accessible, 3 accessible parking spots, two halfway up the hill and another one at the top of the hill. There will be an accessible loop at the top of the hill, so not only can a person with a disability get from the bottom walking trail, but they can get all the way to the top and then do a loop around the top as well. We have, I mentioned, vehicular access to the top for a person that has accessible parking pass only. We'll have wayfinding signage throughout the park. I mentioned new playground, a walking loop in a lower lawn area that people can just relax and enjoy the outdoors on. I think I've hit all of the big things. There's 2 older basketball courts. Those will come down. We'll actually create, there'll be less impervious surface, but they will create actual parking spots up there that aren't there now. And I think I talked about the stormwater management. There'll be a small area, storage area for the group that uses the theater area now. There will be a small storage area for their outdoor, they have those storage boxes up there that they keep old sets in, so, or rotating sets. So that is the plan for the park. It's a lot of site work involved, but it will provide access really in a section of town that doesn't have a lot of outdoor or access to outdoor recreation facilities. And it does connect with the 27 acres of conservation property in the trail system that goes out there as well, the Little Brook Conservation Area.
Okay. We'll start down this end this time. Sarah?
Sure, thank you, Brendan and Dave, for coming. I have a few questions, and full disclosure, this is my neighborhood, so I'm very invested in this project. My kids and I walk those trails in Little Brook all the time, and we're up at Overlook quite often. It needs a lot of work, obviously, so I'm glad to see the town hopefully investing in this. I know you've done a lot of outreach with the community for the whole grant process, where you sought out, info or input from the community. Have the abutters in that neighborhood been contacted yet, or will they be?
So I've had a couple conversations with neighbors. I don't know if you're part of it. I was told there is a very active neighborhood private chat thing, right? So it was put out on that. As far as I know, I was told it was put out on that. Everyone was invited to a public meeting. We held a public input table at the tree lighting, which we had a couple thousand people at the tree lighting, and Weston and Sampson, who was doing our outdoor facility master plan, one of their tasks was to create this conceptual plan for the property. They were very excited with the feedback they got. So yes, I believe everyone up there in that area is aware and has had an opportunity to provide feedback.
Okay. My second question is, I know that there's a big emphasis on accessibility, and I know there's different levels of accessibility, but that is a very, very hilly, steep area. And, you can tell by these trails that are like switchbacks. Yep. I understand. So I don't know, from like an engineering perspective, if that's been looked at and yet in the process, and how difficult that's going to be to make it accessible up there.
So all of the trails that are listed on the plan are accessible. They had their engineers work them through, which is the reason for the price tag of the project. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a lot of site work, and that's all taken into consideration. So not only can you traverse the woods there to get to the top, but as I mentioned, once you get to the top, there is a full loop. All of the trails up there are accessible as well. So.
And does that mean wheelchair accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Yes, and if someone was not so inclined to traverse the switchback route going up, there, as I mentioned, there are parking spots halfway up the hill and all the way up at the top. And we'll have signage at the bottom stating that it's accessible route only, driving only.
And then my last question, you talked about the views of Boston up there. So in the winter, when there are no leaves, you can see Boston pretty clearly, through the trees. But once the leaves get on the trees, there's really no view of Boston. I don't know if you're aware of that, or if there's any thought about making that view better. I'm not talking about taking down trees. I would definitely advise against that, but maybe building some sort of accessible tower or something that could raise above the trees and see the view.
That has come up. We have identified in the wood line there are some invasive, like bittersweet, that clings to the trees that can come down that will probably help create a better view. We have talked about, I guess, like a lookout tower, right? Obviously, that may have to come at a later time, but it is something we've looked at. Maybe even a second tree house.
Right, that's what I was thinking of, yeah. That's a great idea. I don't have any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Brendan, and to your team and to all the rec commissioners for not only joining us tonight, but all of your hard work on this. I'm very excited. I've seen the plan, it looks great, and I'm in full support, and appreciate the efforts here. It's going to be really cool when it's done. Just a quick question. Will there be any improvements done to the Park Playhouse, or is there any grants or anything we can try and apply for to try and help them out and improve their facility, or is that not under the scope of this project?
That's not under the scope of this project. There will be, I believe we have an accessible ramp going to their front door, to the front door of that building. They are tenants there by, lease, so, I don't know long-term, they're good neighbors, but we will actually have outdoor recreation space in that building, classroom space, so we can start doing some more programming. So we've had those conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So picking up my line of questioning where kind of Mike's is leaving off, is I'm just curious about the status of the buildings, both the Park Playhouse and the maintenance sheds.
The status as far as...
It's like how they're holding up, I guess.
Yep. Roofs, both buildings are fairly new. I know the roof on the Players is a little older on that building that they use. The roof on our garage was done right before COVID, maybe 7 years ago. It's the only place our program division has storage. And now that the Parks and Recreation Maintenance Division is out, they still store smaller equipment off-season, right? Get it out of the big garage, because even though it's out of the way, it could be in the way. So off-season, some smaller mowers and equipment like that get stored in the small garages up there. We have plans to move down in the building, take some of the old recreation maintenance storage to house more of the program division equipment. So they're in good shape. We have new oil tank, and part of the heating system is new in the storage building. And then in the theater building, they put in a couple new furnaces a few years back. So, and their roof is solid. They put in new seating 2 years ago, I think. And we're working with them now on a renovation of the bathrooms to make them accessible.
Awesome.
So,
So in line with the notion of accessibility, I love the idea of like the treehouse concept for access. I love the fact that the path is paved. Has there been any discussion around the possibility of public bathrooms like we have at Rohannes?
it's part of the grant. Is access to public bathrooms. So as they talk about revamping their bathrooms, we're talking about access from the outside. And it would probably be open while programs are going on in the site, not something we would leave open all of the time necessarily, or maybe just seasonally.
Okay. All right. And then my last question, just more of a curiosity, is how long is the entire path? Do we know? Mapped out? Mile?
No. I don't think a mile. I'm looking back at Kelly. No.
No-ish?
We can try to get an idea if that's a deal breaker.
No, not the
Okay.
I was curious.
Depends
My
upon
most contingent upon how many feet.
How many feet? Yeah.
Depends upon the grade.
The grade.
Nick only power walks 1 mile at a time.
That's right. Short stints. That's where I
You
succeed.
can go up and then rest.
Yeah.
And then go back down.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, great. No other questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of colleagues already touched on this point. Under this, it says, continue to upgrade existing facilities. And the Burlington Players, in my opinion, is a hidden gem in this town. I've been there, a couple of their shows. I would love to see us, I know the site is, not the best centrally located, but I'd love to see us come up with some sort of place for events like that. I want to say cultural center, but I know you said there's no plans under these articles to improve the interior space of that building. But is there anything we can do as a town to help? I know they're not a town agency, but they're a town group, in my opinion. I'd love to help them out one way or the other. I don't have the answer to that, but I think my colleagues already said they're on board with it as well. So I'd love to see that improved at some point, or at least, or even relocated to a central location. Section 1, open lawn, event space. Do you plan on having events there, and if so, what kind?
We would use it for outdoor recreation program space. Maybe some small community events, if there's a Trails Day or something, gathering on the lawn, but our program division would program that space.
And then one final thing, I don't know how we can do it, how it can be done, but incorporate some sort of ATV or dirt bike prevention, because that's going to be an issue down there. It's an issue now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we can address that issue, but I'd like to keep that in the back of the mind to prevent them from damaging the properties. That's all.
Thank you. I think everything's been touched on. So the whole trail system is going to be hot topped? So is that what you mean by accessible, handicap accessible?
So what comes up through the woods would be
Gravel?
stone dust with an additive that binds it, a binding agent.
Right. I was going to say, if we were doing hot top, that would be kind of tough.
Yes.
To go through the whole thing with hot top, and then how's it going to crack and move? But the stone dust and the chemical, or the chemicals, the spray, whatever they put down on it, that works really well. And the trail system, that looping you talk about, that will all be that type of a.
At the top, so there's a portion of it will be paved, and a portion will be the stone dust with the binder.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was the only thing I had. When he said paved, I was like, wait a minute, they can't really do that. So anyway, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't support this article. With everything else we have going on in town with, a police station coming up, schools coming up, I think it's a great article to support for our town meeting. So I see no reason why we shouldn't, but I'm only one vote. So that's all. Go ahead.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I think? And this is just about the grant process, and so this $2.3 million that we would be appropriating, is that like contingent upon the grant approval? Or what comes first, I guess? What happens if the grant does not get approved?
So the Recreation Commission, in all of our discussions, that was one thing they didn't really decide on. We didn't, right, if we weren't successful. So we are going to be meeting before town meeting to have that final discussion and approve, say, yes, we're going to continue. If we're not successful with the grant, we're still going to make the request.
So you'll know before town meeting?
We'll know before town meeting. We're planning early next week for a meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Paul, anything else?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's a very ambitious Phase 2 out there for further on down the road as well, but it's pretty far down there and pretty costly, I think, with some of those ideas they have. I think this is a great addition to the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a sort of a strange area, because we had the maintenance yard up there, so it wasn't exactly ideal for recreation, but I think that this will make it really a jewel for the neighborhood, so.
I think it's going to be great for the neighborhood. I think it's going to be great for the town itself. I mean, like I said earlier, I see no reason why we shouldn't approve this. That's just my opinion. Dave, would you like to comment on anything, or?
No, I mean, I'm sure you've all been up to the area. It's a beautiful area. It overlooks Boston. Ultimately, our long-term goal is to really make that a great recreation area for the entire community. But this would be Phase 1 to get the accessibility for handicapped people, and which is very important, which is the big cost structure of this first phase of the project. But it's long-term for the community of Burlington. This is a great project to support.
Mr. Chairman, one quick follow-up.
Right.
Have you talked to the DAC, Disability Access Commission? Because sometimes they have funding available to help offset some costs. They've done other fields and whatnot in town.
Yeah, we've worked with them on different things in town, try to work on smaller projects. We could deplete their funds pretty quickly if we ask for, but there may be possibility of working with them on some portion of this down the road, or maybe a future improvement there. We work with them on on a number of things. They're very supportive of our therapeutic rec division and the programming there, so we're not shy to ask.
Okay.
We have a follow-up over there. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, thank you for bringing that up. We just had a DAC meeting today, and one of the things that came up was we're looking for projects around town to help with some of our funding, because it's kind of we've got a high level right now. So I will definitely make it a point to go back to that committee and get back in touch with you guys, and maybe the DAC can support some of the initiatives here, because we have some funds to spend too.
We were scheduled to go there today, but we didn't have all of the information we really felt comfortable, that we needed to feel comfortable presenting. So we have.
Right, maybe we can discuss that at our next meeting when you do show up.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a great point, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, on that note,
Mr. Chairman,
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 27 for the Overlook Park Concept Plan Phase 1.
Motion made by Jim, second by
Mike.
Second.
Sarah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, against? 500.
Thank you. There's one more article, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to express our support for Article 28, Overlook Park Concept Plan Phase 1.
Want to hear it first?
Oh, isn't that part 28, 27, 28?
No,
What?
28 is the
Like, you
fields.
could make the motion right after we hear it. I
Oh,
guarantee.
sorry.
So,
We're that excited to support it.
So over the years, we've heard a lot of criticism at town meeting about the condition of the fields, the actual field surfaces, and there's a variety of reasons for that. But Brendan and I began discussing it also with former Select Board Chair Mike Runyon and Mr. Norton, just about a way that we can sort of start to treat fields and improving the field maintenance with an annual allotment at town meeting. Very similar to what we've done with paving, with sidewalks, with stream cleaning, where it becomes every year that we present town meeting with a little bit of funding towards that. And I think from my standpoint, sort of the goal was to, by investing into the actual surfaces of the fields, that hopefully over the long term, you would get really significant improvement there, and we would also be able to avoid probably future field total renovations as they come along. And I'm sure Brendan, the Recreation Master Plan, is going to have quite a few of those in there. We're looking to do an entire park over, but this is really focused on the playing surfaces, the grass and the dirt, and things of that nature. And I can let Brendan elaborate a little bit more on it, but the idea was to just get a little bit of funding every year towards fields as a whole, with the goal of just generally improving the fields over time. And again, similar examples would be what the town's done with sidewalks, with stream cleaning, with paving, with water lines, and things of that nature. And with that, I guess I turn it over to Brendan.
Sure. Thank you. So I won't get too wordy, but that's never gone with my name anyway, so I probably will say too much. As Mr. Sagarino mentioned, it's something that came up in discussion, and I think, our commission has heard the voices at town meeting and throughout the year from the youth sports leagues in parents on improving the playing surfaces. We undertook a program a few years back and started to make some improvements to targeted playing fields, Wildwood Park being the first example, and we improved the playing surface, and we moved on to Simons Park and started doing some work there. But this article, as Mr. Sagarino mentioned, would be similar to the yearly warrant articles for stream cleaning, roads, sidewalks, those type of things, and would include, we'd be able to do things including top dressing programs on all of our athletic fields. What top dressing does is put sand, overlays sand onto the field, and then it gets dragged in. It eventually, over time, as you do it yearly, it builds up, so you have a nice level playing surface, and there's not these bumps and divots and everything. But it's something we should be doing yearly. Renovating existing fields we have a lot of, Little League fields that were built in low-lying areas that were just built in the 70s and 80s, and we just continue to maintain what's there. They're not level, they don't drain well, and they don't have the correct infield mix or fill there as well. So this would allow us to start going through those and renovating those. Obviously making accessibility improvements at each of our fields. When a lot of fields were developed and parks were developed in town, accessibility wasn't thought of, right? But now it's a major thing, and it's a major factor in our department, in decision-making in our department. We'll be able to go through and replace old, inefficient irrigation systems with new, efficient watering systems, irrigation systems, with updated technology, installing new irrigation systems on fields that don't have it, that don't get a lot of play because we can't keep grass on the fields with the amount of use that they do get. And then obviously replacing player benches, fencing, backstops, and other site amenities that we repair, but we don't have it in our operating budget to actually make the replacement that's necessary. So while we realize the initial investment in athletic field improvements may seem expensive, the long-term benefits often outweigh the costs. So funding athletic field improvements is not merely an expenditure, but an investment in the health, happiness, and safety of our residents. By providing accessible and well-maintained recreational spaces, communities can reap a multitude of benefits that enrich the lives of the individuals, strengthen the social fabric of the community as a whole. So we look at this as really a benefit to the entire community, not just a specific sport group or anything, but making an investment in our athletic fields, in the amenities at each throughout.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Sarino. Do you have an amount in mind, or is that?
The amount would be $200,000. That would get us a start. You know, it might be something that, you know, funded the first year. Maybe there's, you know, some, an increase yearly to cover, obviously, increases in the, you know, economy, staying up to date with, you know, any increases there, inflation, whatever the increases are related to. But, you know, we'll be able to make improvements, make renovations to existing facilities, and stay ahead of the game, and not have to, every 5 to 10 years, completely blow up blow up a field and start over. That a lot of these things that we're battling every year are things that we can, you know, with a little more funding, be able to address and stay on top of.
So, again, I highly support this because, again, we're investing in our infrastructure. Well, it's not technically infrastructure, but we're investing in the town-owned properties. Right. And that's one of the good things for our bond rating, and we should be investing in this. It's for our kids and our adults, so I highly support this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Jim. You know, this is absolutely infrastructure investment. It ensures, to your point, that, you know, every 5 to 10 years, we aren't spending $200,000 just to redo a park. So I think that it's a wise use of funds. Is there a reason why we wouldn't put it in the operating budget, that we would ask for it in this way?
The only thing I would say to that, Nick, is that, you know, we want town meeting to have an option every year, like they have a vote on the sidewalk program and the stream cleaning program. It could theoretically be part of it. I think town meeting has shown great support for rec when they ask to do basketball courts or tennis courts or playground equipment in the parks. But like I say, this is a little different. It's not quite as interesting or flashy. It's grass and dirt and, you know, things that are a little bit less tangible.
Sure.
And, you know, I sort of see it as a utility that we're investing in, you know, sidewalks, pavement, cleaning the streams. These are things that we should do a little bit every year. We don't have enough money, funding to do a lot every year, but if we can sort of just keep chipping away at a certain level, then hopefully we can bring everything to a satisfactory level for everybody and again, prevent long-term, having to, dig out and redo entire fields.
Yeah, I guess that point, Paul, town meeting could, because again, if we said we wanted to put it in the operating budget, like anything, we'd call it out to town meeting and say, right, the reason that your budget's growing by X percent is because we're including this new line item that covers X. And they could still deny it at that point. And any year moving forward, they can pull it from the operating budget. Like, that's still a thing, right? So, I guess as we view the overall intent of improving our infrastructure, I kind of feel the same way about sidewalks. Is that that's money that we should anticipate. That's a thing that's not going to go away, right? We have parks, we have sidewalks. These things need to be maintained. And I guess the mechanism for town meeting to take it away exists regardless of where it lives as an article or in the operating budget. Now, I'm not saying we have to put it there. I'm saying that I support this. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that moving forward, we have the funds in the right spot, that, Brendan or whoever's in his seat after him knows what to expect and anticipate, so that we can make sure this persists, and that in 5 years, town meeting's like, we just don't want to fund this anymore, So from that perspective, I think it warrants a different conversation. But as it stands, I'm fine with it. I think that we should talk about, where it lives. My next question is 200, and this is a stupid question almost, but is $200K enough on a yearly basis? I mean, what is that going to cover? Because we have this conversation every year about sidewalks, right? About how, the $500,000 that we request from town meeting is covering less and less sidewalk every year, right? And so out of the gate, what's $200K going to get you?
So the short answer is it's not going to solve all of our problems, right? But I think for us, it's a starting point to, it's a comfortable starting point to start to take care of longstanding issues, right? Projects that we just don't get to, that we just keep putting a Band-Aid on, right? So we can make a renovation. I'll give you a perfect example. A field like Veterans, right? It's a great little league field. Parking's a little tough there, right? But, a lot of games aren't played in there because the field isn't level all the way through. The fences are falling apart. It's not attractive, right? We fix fences. Fences, deteriorate over time. But that would be a perfect example, putting irrigation in there so we can actually hold, keep grass there. It's part of our athletic field fertilization maintenance program now. But 2 summers ago, when we didn't get any rain, we didn't put a lot of work in, product onto that field because we're relying on Mother Nature. Right. But with irrigation, we can continue with that. And the stand of grass would be, level. Would be a nice, level, safe outfield with a nice, thick bed of grass that can withstand, games. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be just used for baseball or softball. That outfield could maybe house some small soccer, 7v7 fields. And now you have, use throughout the season. Same thing at Regan. There's water at that site. There's water at Veterans. There's no irrigation system. Regan's another great little field, that little park tucked in the neighborhood, and would allow us to do that. The field behind Center School, where the high school JV team plays, we play adult softball there. Same thing, it's not level throughout. It's flat, but it's not level. There's water out there. There's no irrigation. Another field that we don't, put a lot of product and effort into because we're relying on Mother Nature. Right. So those are the type of things. Backstops. We have outdated and undersized backstops at a lot of our fields. Those need to be replaced. We have player benches that aren't necessarily protected from balls in play. We have fences around parks, Rahanis, that are inadequate to keep the balls from going into the stream or into the high-tension wires. Look at we have a lot of older steel fences that have the twisted top that's like pointed, right? Those would all, things like that would be taken care of in here. Making accessible access to athletic fields themselves. Right now, I'll give you Rotary Field. The bleachers are down a hill. You can't, there's no accessible route to those, so that would be something, a type of project we'd look at.
Sure.
And these are the projects that have come out of here, and we don't have a complete list. Once our outdoor facility master plan comes through in May, that, we would definitely have a more complete list. But there are also things that are identified in our needs assessment, in the open space and recreation plan. These are things that are brought up year after year. And we try to address as many of them as possible. But this will help us start to pull that, cull that list and get it more manageable.
Yeah.
And then get them on a standard maintenance program or standard, renovation program that they're not falling off and need 10 years of work to catch them up.
Right, okay. And Brendan, as a part of that master plan that is being done, is field usage being looked at as part of that?
Not so much field usage. So, the schools did their athletic field plan a few years ago. Our group, Weston and Sampson, is looking at all outdoor facilities, parks, school properties, and they're adopting the athletic field master plan that was done, the schools, but they're not looking at usage.
Okay.
In any field that wasn't in that plan, Weston and Sampson is doing for us.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
But not usage, sorry.
That's fine, thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was in full support for it. I haven't heard it. Anything we can do to improve the fields, I'm all for. Great idea. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He was all set to go before we even started. Love it.
Yeah.
It's a big need.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm also fully in support of this. We should be actively maintaining and investing in our athletic fields and not just kind of leaving them. My only concern is that just the number, and going in front of town meeting with a number like $200,000 and how you came up with that. Sounds like you have a lot of plans, and it sounds like it's well over 200,000, all those things that you just mentioned. But it would be good to have, and I know you're working on this with the outdoor facility master plan, a sense as you're going in front of town meeting of how you would use that 200,000 in the first year. And then when you come, it sounds like you're going to be coming back every year for this, maybe just having a sense of what you would do in year 2. So just to get a little bit more clarity for town meeting to be able to approve this.
Was it?
Yep, thank you.
Just waiting for an approval. You know how I feel. I don't have to tell you. Let's get this going. I mean, for years and years and years, all you hear about is like, oh, the field's this, the field's that, the field's this. It's like, how many guys you got? 9?
Yes.
9 guys, right? Take care of every field in town, right? The budget is not enough. I don't think this number's enough, but we'll start there and see what happens with town meeting. You know what I mean? My personal opinion is, let's just get this done. So.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department's athletic field request as presented.
You want to put a number on that, or?
Oh, no, I think town meeting would put the number on it.
Okay, all right.
Second.
Article, John, do you have an article number?
Article 28.
Article 28.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against? 500.
Thank you.
Thank you, both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, nice job.
The brains behind the effort.
But listen, what woman isn't?
Thank you.
All right, what do we got next? Citizens time. Let's do the online first. Anybody online? No one's?
Nope.
No one's got there? The room? I'm right up. And as always, I'll say from the beginning, citizens' time's limited to 3 minutes for each citizen. So, Be my guest.
All right, well, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm here as a concerned citizen, and I've heard before, maybe some of you have, if you see something, say something.
Sorry, Mr. Young, if you could just identify yourself and what street you live on for the record?
Okay, yeah, Bob Young, 3 Valley Circle. So, as I said, you may have heard, if you see something, say something. And I have an occasion quite often to go down South Bedford Street all the way to Cambridge Street into Woburn. I have opportunities very frequently to go South Bedford to Blanchard Road, and then I go off that sometimes to Mueller Road. I don't know, I'm going to encourage everybody on the committee to find some time to go to those areas that I just mentioned. I think you'll be shocked at what you see. It is really, I'll put the best word on I can, disappointing that the condition, the litter, the trash, it's just, I can't emphasize enough what's going on those areas. And as you get down by the softball field on South Bedford heading to Cambridge Street, both sides are just littered with plastic and all kinds of things, and it should be cleaned up. The leaves, and as you come back the other way, there's all kinds of trash trees. There's a beautiful stone wall there. You don't even see it. So my recommendation, request is that you take a look at that personally, and then I think my recommendation would be to have Mr. White up here. According to Amy Warfield, he's responsible for the sides of the roads. And I hope that it's going to be handled immediately or sooner, and then an action plan so that it doesn't get to this level again.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Do I need to sign this?
Yes, please, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, 79, warrant article, planning. I would believe that would be you first, and then across the hall over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple weeks ago, the board, I had the opportunity to hear a presentation from our planning director, Elizabeth Bonventry, and she is here tonight to ask the board if you will be willing to take a vote of support for her article. She's joined by, we have Jess Sutherland in the office, and planning board member Tony Natola has joined us online as well. So Liz would be happy to answer any questions. You saw the presentation a couple weeks ago, and at a minimum, I hope you could provide her some feedback on what you like, what you don't like about it, and help us have a path to move forward on this. It is a requirement that we get something in place by the end of the year, so.
Okay, sounds good. Mike, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, thank you to Liz and planning staff for all your hard work on this. I know you guys have put a lot of time into it, a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings. I've watched some of them, not all. And like many people, I'm not a fan of the law. I'm not a fan of the state kind of dictating what we should do in, our individual towns and communities. And I know that housing is such a huge need for not only Burlington, but most towns and cities in the Commonwealth. And I feel like even though we're not a fan, or I'm not a fan of the law, I also think we have to comply. And the plan that planning has come up with is the most palatable and least painful and most effective way for us to comply with the law and not really change the tenor or scope of the landscape of the town. And I'm appreciative for those efforts. So I'm in support of what planning has done here in our proposal. And again, I am not a fan of the law, but my qualms there are with the State House, not with anyone here in town. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that, we can, and Liz, thank you for being here tonight, and Jess and Tony, and thank you. we can argue all day about, how we feel about the state enacting laws. I think as people and as communities, we are all, kind of subscribed to a social contract. But even if you take all that out of the equation and you look at Burlington specifically, and you look at the trajectory of how the world is moving and shifting, a need for housing, right? And, that's just how the world is shifting. A need for housing because people and businesses are trying to come together to coexist in a more habitable place where you can work from home or be close to a small office, right? And to meet a state law and kind of have that in our back pocket seems like a win-win at the end of the day, right? Like no matter how you kind of like cut this up. I think people can easily forget that rent right now is absurdly high, people being able to afford housing, I think, is a bigger issue than the need for housing. But that's a conversation for a different day. I think that specifically regarding the plan, I really appreciate the level of work that went into this, and identifying the locations that were identified. I think that it harkens to the continuation of thinking that this town has had since the 1960s, in the sense that, we really do value our residential area from that perspective of quote-unquote single-family housing. And I put all that in massive air quotes because it's not in any way meant to, speak ill of multifamily housing, right? I refer back to how expensive it is, right? Having a diversity of housing, we've been talking about for years. And again, that checks a box off of our community, bingo card. And it's not gonna all just happen tomorrow, right? I think that it's really important to recognize the timeline with which we are working with. I say all this not as new information, but so that if somebody goes, oh, hey, watch that select board meeting because they talked about the MBTA routes, that, we are all kind of part of this information, share. I'd love to see more public transportation in Burlington. I think that, we are consistently dinged in terms of, our accessibility beyond the car, right? And I think that one way or the other, these new generations of kids coming up, who don't own cars because either they, A, can't afford them, or B, live in an area where they can walk everywhere, may very well, there's no proof to this yet, but may very well force our hand in an increase in public transportation. So with all that being said, I do support this. I appreciate all the work. I hope town meeting supports this. I hope there's a good discussion around it because I think that it warrants discussion, warrants everyone sharing their thoughts and opinions. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Priest?
I am Mr. Priest.
I mean, yeah.
I can go again, Joe.
Check that bingo
Oh,
card.
no, you're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not Mr. Priest.
Mr. Tigas, would you like to go next?
I would, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So hats go off to the planning board and staff, not only present day, but past years. Because of forward thinking of the staff and members today and past boards and staff, we in Burlington are in an enviable position. There are towns around us. We're over the 40B inventory, subsidized housing in inventory. So we don't have to worry about that. Other towns do. Other towns have to create the zoning and then create housing because they lack the housing. Well, we have the housing. Our past and present planners and town officials have created that housing. All we need to do is create the zoning. So we're very, very fortunate. Liz, your staff, your board, the product you produce is unbelievable, the detail. I didn't have any questions about it because the answers were all there. So I highly support this. All we need to do, we've got the housing, just create the zoning. So we, again, like my colleagues, I'm not thrilled that we have to comply with this, but we are complying with this, and we are in an enviable position where where other towns are looking at hundreds and hundreds of additional units just to comply. So, all set.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Liz, and to the planning department and team and board for all the work. I can't even imagine how many hours you've spent on all of this MBTA communities stuff. But I feel like there are two opinions against this. First of all, I'm in favor of your plan. I think it is a good one. The two opinions I'm hearing, and that we'll hear, I'm sure, at length at town meeting, are that, one, this is overreach from the state and we should fight it, and two, this overlay plan does not do enough to address the housing crisis, and we need to be identifying areas where there isn't already multifamily housing. So those are the two things that we're kind of up against, and I understand and sympathize with both of those points of view. But the fact is, this is a law on the books, and we stand to lose a lot if we do not comply. Not just, a few $1 million, many millions of dollars in state funding for projects, including MWRA. So, if we fight it, that is a risk that I do not think that we should be taking as a town. We've done a lot, like my fellow board member said, as a town to promote multifamily housing. I think we can do more, and we will, but this plan allows us to do that in our way as a town while also complying with the law. So I'm in favor of it. Thank you, Liz, and to the planning team for all your work.
All righty, thank you. I mean, we're all in favor of this. I just have a couple of questions I have to ask. Lord Byron and Hallmark Gardens, they're not on there. Is there a reason why?
Yes, so that was specifically done because we don't want to lose them. So what this does is it allows a developer to come in and build multifamily housing by right. So there was a fear that housing in town, which is naturally occurring, meaning it can't ask the same rents that, say, Newport that housing does. So it provides kind of more moderate income housing in town that's naturally affordable. So it's not getting subsidized or anything. It just means that the nature of the product means that it can't get the same kind of rent. So it provides us with, home health aides and people who work in kitchens and a lot of people who work at the hospital. And there's a fear that there would be a real displacement, that a developer would come in, buy it, and kind of displace all of those people. So there was an effort made to specifically not include that for that specific reason.
So Hallmark Gardens is condos, right? That still counts as that? And Lord Byron is those low-income apartments, right?
So Lord Byron is market rate apartments.
Okay, market rate.
But market rate, they're an older product. So market rate for an older product means that they're less expensive.
Okay.
Right. Hallmark Gardens, we did look at. Honestly, it was kind of just a jigsaw puzzle. We were able to make the pieces work without it. So I mean, there was really a rhyme or reason why I got Hallmark Gardens, but there was a reason why we didn't choose Lord Byron, and that's because we did not want to see a developer come in, say, displace all those people and build brand new units at, double the rent.
Okay, well, I'm just trying, I can tell you this, I'm in favor of it. I'm just trying to be transparent with everybody that's involved, and I've gotten some questions already about it. So that's why I'm asking these questions, just so that the public can hear it and that I can actually understand it myself, because I couldn't figure it out in the beginning anyway. And I probably should have called you beforehand, but I didn't. So I figured I'd have you here now and I'd ask you. But, okay, so I'm okay with it. I just needed to have those questions answered for some of the residents that had asked me. All right, okay. So I'm all set. So if there's nothing else, Paul, anything from you? Anything from John?
No, I think, what the board's expressed is certainly, there's a lot of controversy around this, as everyone knows, across the state, and even within town here. So this is going to be a real interesting discussion at town meeting, and I just think that Liz and the planning board and through all their community outreach, I do think they did their best job to try to get us to compliance, to protect us from areas where we don't necessarily want large multifamily housing. And what I continue to tell the board and anyone is, when we go to look to do the 128 Mall Road redevelopment area, that is definitely an area where we desire to have more housing. And I certainly, for those folks that don't think that this plan makes enough housing, we will be asking for more housing down the road, albeit in housing that will help our commercial area be successful. So I think the comments that the board made of things that we've heard from many different parts of town, and I think it'll be a very interesting discussion at town meeting.
If nobody has anything.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we support Article 31 as it's been presented to us. Yeah.
Motion was made?
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. 500.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Liz.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. License rate change, approval. Mr. Sagarino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every couple of years, we like to take a look at what we're charging for our licenses and permits within town, just to make sure that we're staying competitive with what other communities are charging. I think historically, we've tried not to, we don't want to be the most expensive place around, but I think it's also a problem too if you fall too far behind what the going rate for the charges are as well. So the staff in our office put together a little bit of survey with some of the neighboring communities, just to give you a sense of, sort of where our fees fall in line with those other communities, and we're just providing that info. We've made a recommendation as to where we think a good place to fall for the fee would be, and again, we're open to a board discussion on this to see how you guys feel about the fees and where you want to go with it, and again, what your recommendation would be. These are all fees that occur out of permits that take place in the selectman's office, licenses and permits.
Okay. Jim, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly, I don't think they're too high. I mean, it's a couple of them gone up, a couple have stayed the same. It's a lot of them a lot more reasonable than surrounding cities and towns, so I have no issues with the recommended rates.
Okay. Mr. Priest?
I concur. I'm all set.
Okay. Sarah?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree that they're comparable to our neighboring communities. My question is, why were we so low compared to neighboring communities? Did they also recently go up like we're going up, or have we just not looked at this in a few years?
It's usually we don't look at it for a few years at a time. I know that there's always been a desire to not be sort of the most expensive place around, so I think some towns probably, due to their financial condition, probably have to consider raising their fees on a more frequent basis. And, it can be sometimes a difficult thing for us to propose to the select board to constantly raise fees. So we try to be judicious with it, but it definitely hasn't been done probably in the last 5 years.
So,
No, everything looks pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at Fortune Teller, 250 in Woburn, we're going to stay at 50. I wouldn't be opposed to raising that, because with the powers they have, they should be able to see that coming. But other than that, looks good, Mr. Chairman.
I hope you're happy with yourself.
That was low egg.
I think I used that one 5 years ago, so.
That was too easy. I had to.
okay, well, it looks like everybody's in favor of it but me. I'm not in favor of those big jumps for going from 40 to 100, going from 80 to 150. I think that's over 100%. I don't think we need to do that in 1 year. I think some of this stuff is small business. Some of this stuff is the local deli down the street that's got to make your sandwich, and his rate's going up. Some of them are at 100%. Some of them are staying small. I think that I'd much rather, you guys can vote any way you want. I already know that it looks like it's got to be a 4-to-1 vote as it is, but some of these rates are I think they're just going up too much in one year. We did this earlier when we did our rates for all the electoral inspectors and everyone else. We went up over 100%, and we all heard it. So go ahead.
The highest increase I can see is $25.
Huh? When you're a small.
Which one? This thing keeps turning on.
No.
The first one is going from 80 to 150.
Sealer awaits is the first page, Jim.
Oh, okay, I'm on that.
So
Okay.
that's just my feeling. I'm going to look for a motion either to table this till we talk about it again, or we can actually vote on it the way you want, whatever you guys want to do.
Can I just ask another question?
Yeah.
So how often are these fees, is this like a one-time permit fee, or is this like a once-a-year fee?
Some of the sealer ones are every 2 years. Most of the other ones on the second page are annuals.
So it's either annual or every other?
Yeah, the scanners, the store scanners are every other year, correct, John? And I think that the scales in gasoline is every year on the sealer end of things. So some of them are every year, and the actual store scanners are every other year.
Okay.
You all set, sir?
Thank you.
So my thing is that, we're always talking about the residents' rates, the resident rates. Well, the small businesses and the businesses in town that make it possible to have those rates the way they are. I mean, I'm just looking at it from a business standpoint, and I really, whatever you want to do. You want to make a motion on this? That's fine with me. You want to table it off until we actually look at it a little bit differently? We can do that too. Am I right?
Yes, whatever the pleasure of the board.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Quick question. Thanks, Chairman. When was the last time we looked at these rates? You said 5 years?
The sealer ones is probably more like 10 years.
Since there's been even any
Since we
increase?
did a new program with that a long time ago. And like I say, the sealer information and the request came directly from our new program. We share a sealer with Lexington. The sealer had done work in quite a few other communities. There's only a certain amount of people that do this kind of work. So he's been strongly urging us to get to market rate on the fees. Has no impact on what we pay him, but, he just, there's some work involved in doing the work to certify these scales and things like that when you do the sealer things. And I know that on the recommended rate, I know that our staff took into account the amount of work it takes to produce these licenses as well. Some of them are a little bit easier. It's just a request for a license, and some of them there's some work on our end involved. But we're happy to handle it however the board wishes to.
I'm not.
Take it up tonight or bring it back.
I'm not saying we don't need to go up on the rates. That's not what I'm saying at all. We definitely need to go up on the rates and get a little bit more competitive. But some of them, to me personally, is quite a big increase. And it's more to me for like the small business guys, Sammy's Deli or whoever it may be, the guy down the street selling cold cuts. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that seem to get to me. I understand that we use one weights and measure guy for both towns that are doing it. I don't want it to become infringing on the fact that it's going to cost us money. You know what I mean? When it gets down to where it's costing us money to pay this guy to do this, then yeah, we have to do something, and I agree that we have to do something. This is just my opinion, and it can be voted out in 2 seconds. So I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on this at all.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I don't think that you're wrong, and I don't think that you're trying to dissuade the board from, what we've talked about. I think this is great. Like, I love having active discussions, and I know you and I have talked about small business before as it pertains to, like, how often we think of either big business or residents, right? And small business kind of gets lumped into the conversation and sometimes kicked in the shins, right? And we don't want to do that. So, I don't disagree with what you're saying. None of the increases seem so high that I was overly concerned, but perhaps what we can do is take another look at what would truly affect small business versus things like, I don't know, liquid measuring meters. Like, I don't know if that feels like it would impact gas stations and, hardware stores more than it would, a deli, right?
Right.
And just try and take a look at like the specific numbers that, and I have to assume that it comes down to like linear measurements. I think of, Mo, over on 3A, like when it comes to fabric measuring and like how that might impact his small business. And then I look at, everything under general licenses as, areas that could affect small business. And say, okay, do we want to look at those specifically? Because what I'm looking at right now is like from 50 to 75 or...
Yeah, those ones, I completely understand, but I guess there's a couple on the first going from 80 to 150, going from 40 to 100.
For the scales.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I just think it's a little much, and if that's, like I said, I don't want this to become an hour discussion on this. I mean, I'm just trying to give my opinion, and that's all there is to it. So if you want to table it and wait, we can do that. If you want to vote on it, we can vote on it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree that the percentage increase is drastic. It's, sometimes 100+% increase. The dollar amount is not huge. It's not going to put a small business.
Well, that's when it's not coming out of your pocket. It's not.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, $80 compared to $150 one time a year. It's not. It's not me I'm talking about, it's the businesses, yes, but I think, and it's comparable to our neighbors. And I looked up, because I know that we share a sealer with Lexington, and Lexington is not included in this as a neighbor. I looked up their rates just to see, because knowing that he's seeing both of those rates, and all of their current rates are well above our recommended increase rates. So just something I made note, so where we're, bringing it up to sort of the market rate.
Yes, sir.
If I could just add one piece, is the two that we keep talking about are the oversized scales. There's only one business in town that has two of them. So it's not going to affect a bunch of properties. It's only one place that has the scales to that degree.
There's only two businesses that have that?
There's only one business, but they have two.
One business.
They have two scales.
Okay.
I mean, those are scales that weigh trucks, basically.
All right. Well, do I have a motion on this, or whatever you want to do, I'm fine with it. You want to make a motion?
Go ahead.
No, but what I was going to say was, I'd like to better understand the overall impact. If that means tabling this till our next meeting, I'm okay with that if it's not going to create any massive ripple or wave that we should be discussing now. No, we're good?
No, absolutely, there's plenty of time. We can, this is one probably implemented for the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1st. So,
All right, so then, sorry.
Just to follow up, maybe go through the list, and whatever ones you're not on board with, we can take a look at those. And
Tell you what, if we table this off, I'll come up and sit with John, and we'll go over I'll go over the whole list with him, and we'll go from there. Does that work for everybody?
Of course, that works.
Okay.
So then I move to postpone.
You just got voted in.
works for everybody but John.
Make sure that fortune teller gets looked at, please.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna-
Second, Nick's motion to postpone.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to postpone. All in favor?
Just silly, do we want a time certain? Sorry.
Doesn't even have to be
To the
voted
next
on.
meeting, right?
Next meeting's fine.
Okay,
It's not a public hearing, so we're going to have to.
right, okay.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. 500 in favor. Okay, May warrant, May warrant, D, May 2024 warrant article. That's you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we got some DPW folks to come up and talk about. We have 13 warrant articles to discuss tonight. Those will be warrant articles 7-4 through 7-8, Article 8 through 11, and Articles 13 through 16. All of them having to do with DPW. So we have Ryan White, DPW Director, and Tom Hayes, engineer extraordinaire here, to answer any questions you have. I know I forwarded the backup, which is well over 300 pages. You can thank Lynn for that, which will be this thick when you get your printed copy on Wednesday. But there's a lot of detail, as always, for any DPW project. There's lots of detail and excellent backup for all of them. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, how you would like to do it, whether you want to just go right in order one by one and and vote them, or, you know, get the list of the project and see if anybody has any questions, or if you want Brian to give an overview of each. What's your pleasure?
Well, I don't think we usually go over each article. I think what we do is we get on the list, and if someone wants to hold it, then we hold it, right? Is that the way we've done it in the past?
Yes.
Okay, so,
I don't know, should I talk to you or him?
He wasn't paying attention.
Oh.
Shots
I
fired.
was bringing it up on my computer so I could get the dollar amounts. So why don't I tell you about Article 7, 7.4 through 7.8, which are part of our free cash pay-as-you-go warrant that we do every year. These, I will just list them, the dollar amounts, and then we can decide if we want to have more discussion on them. The first one, Article 7-4, is the Wynn Street and Mountain Road traffic light for $400,000. 7.5 is Terrace Hall Station variable frequency drive replacement for $40,000. 7.6 is a meter replacement program design for $50,000. 7.7 is our annual drainage repair and stream cleaning for $200,000. And 7.8 is our annual vehicle replacement for $662,000.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on those articles?
I do.
You do, okay.
The Wynn Street Mountain Road traffic light, I don't know who I should be directing it to, Brian, I guess.
Brian?
So I think town meeting approved a $100,000 warrant article about this last year or 2 years ago. What was that? Was that the plan for this?
Yeah.
And the 400 is the execution?
The design. It's broken down into 2 phases, so the first phase was design for $100,000, and we're asking for construction money, $400,000.
Okay. And this is like a logistic thing, but is there going to be more, are there going to be crosswalks put in there? Because there's people crossing to that Dunkin' Donuts all day, and it's a nightmare.
You know, pedestrian crossings.
Perfect.
Fully actuated light.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had on that one. Did anybody else?
That's the total cost, $400,000? For that whole project? I thought it was more than that.
$500,000 for the entire project. So the $100,000 for design and $400,000 for the construction.
Thank you.
Any other questions on those articles that were asked? Go ahead.
Moving on to 7.5, which was
Terrace Hall Station?
pump station replacement. The quote in the backup was for $30,000, but you're asking for $40,000. Just one, I think the quote was from November, maybe costs have increased, but that's like a 30% increase, so I'm just curious if you have new numbers on that?
No, so we just factor in, again, getting the quotes 10 months or so in advance, as well as, I mean, that's primarily it.
Okay.
It's also, something like this, we have to get quotes for, so this is only one source of the quote, so we want to make sure that we're covered. This warrant article can only be used for the purchase of that VFD, so if there's any surplus, it just goes back to the general fund.
Got it. Okay. I'm just curious, because that question will come up at town meeting.
Yep.
Somebody's going to ask that.
Okay. Sarah?
I do have one more, sorry. Was 7.7 included in this?
Yep.
Yes.
That's the stream cleaning.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the priorities are set with those, the green squares or circles are 2024, blue are 2025, yellow is 2026. Only because I've heard from residents in certain areas that are in 2026 of flooding issues.
Well, it's pretty much first come, first serve, the way it works. We go out, if someone has a complaint, so we go and we evaluate, it doesn't meet the criteria for stream cleaning. So stream cleaning permit is very specific. We're allowed to remove sediment, road sand that's in the brooks. It doesn't allow us to remove beaver dams or dredge brooks. It's very specific. So we have to go out, we evaluate it. We ask conservation to come along, so we are under a conservation permit. If they bless it, then it gets into the queue. So some one project won't jump over another, because all these people are having flooding problems in their backyards. So we evaluate the first one, we program it based on $200,000, what we can do. It's very, super expensive. It's almost $400 a linear foot to remove sand, because you have to remove it. It can't be done with a machine, it has to be done with a vacuum, a Vector truck. It has to be tested, has to be disposed of properly, so it's not cheap. And again, we just queue them as they come in, and as they're approved, we just put them in play.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Just a quick follow-up to that. I know we've had the conversation around stream cleaning a lot. Is $200K enough?
You could always spend more.
All right, let me rephrase the question. How much from the list that we have to deal with can we accomplish in a season with $200K?
The list this is putting together is actually pretty aggressive, because originally, not too long ago, we were paying about $200 a linear foot. Now we're paying $375 a linear foot. So pretty much it cut the program right in half. Like everything else, we've been going along with $200,000 for now 20 years, I think. Every year we just ask for the same amount of money. We do what we can with the money that's available. We don't sand anymore. There is no more sand put down on the roads, but there's plenty of sediment. I mean, stuff comes off. The catch basins, just catch basin cleanings alone, you wouldn't think there's much in them, but there is tons of, literally tons of sand and debris that get into the catch basins. Whatever the catch basins don't capture, it will end up in a brook someplace. So even though it's not technically, road sand from plowing operations, there's plenty of sediment getting into the streams.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, everybody all set with those? Mr. Denizio, back to you.
Sure. The next set of Articles 8 through 11 are, all three of them are annual articles that we talk about at every May. Article 8 is the acceptance of Chapter 90. That's just for the town meeting to officially accept the over $1 million that we get from the state for doing roads. MWRA, I&I debt service, that is to authorize us to use funds from the I&I fund to pay off the debt service of the 0% loans that we get every so often. The sewer enterprise fund is to authorize annually the sewer. We have, well, it is technically an enterprise fund, but it's a small one because all we do is sewer with it. That's allows us to take in the sewer revenues and use them to pay the bill we get from MWRA for sewer treatment and other small costs associated with it. It doesn't pay for the sewer staff or the trucks or anything like that, so it's not a full-blown enterprise fund, which we'll talk more about, I'm sure, later in the fall. And the last few years, our revenues from sewer haven't been able to, or haven't been projected to cover the expected cost each year. So we reserve an amount of retained earnings. So retained earnings in an enterprise fund is just like free cash in the general fund, in our general operations. So the enterprise fund keeps its free cash, if you will, in retained earnings. And this year we're earmarking $100,000 of that retained earnings to cover any shortfall that were to come about. And the last annual one is the transfer from our water stabilization. We talked about it in January, how we capture additional funds for the water increases for our MWRA connection. We capture those funds through a free cash transfer in January into a stabilization fund, and then when we approve the budget for the following year, we offset the budget by an amount coming out of the stabilization fund. And just to point out that it's a transfer for stabilization, so at town meeting, it'll be a 2/3 vote.
Thank you. On those articles, do we have questions? No. Good. Okay. Back to you, John.
Okay, the next, Article 13 is our, every 2 years, we ask for what is now $3.5 million to do roads and parking lots and sidewalks. That used to be $3 million. Was changed a couple years back to change it to $3.5 million so that we could dedicate $500,000 for sidewalks. The Article 14 is to fund the Grandview Ave sewer pump station. We did the design this year, or last year?
Grandview is going to construction. It designed last year, going to construction this year.
So that's the same process we've been following, ask for the design money and then fund the project. 15 is a little different. This is to fund the last part of the MWRA connection. So back in some time ago, we authorized $9.9 million for one of the phases for the MWRA connection. However, in the authorization, it was very specific that it was for Phase 2A. Mr. Sanchez's mysterious labeling. So now, because bond counsel is very specific about these stuff, we need to come back to reauthorize it because we're going to actually use the last $4.6 million of it to do 2B. And that $4.6 million is available because at the time when this project was first approved, there were going to be multiple connection fees to the MWRA. The second connection fee has been waived by the MWRA, so we never had to borrow that $4.6 million. It was already once authorized. Now we're going to reauthorize it to finish the project and do the last phase. So that one is a little bit different. And the three of those will be 2/3 votes because they have to do with bonding. And then the last one is Mill Pond PFAS resin replacement, and this would be $1.2 million, and this one would come from free cash. And I can let Brian talk more about this one. You're welcome. PFAS resin.
Sure. So we expected, based on the pilot results, that the resin would need to be replaced every 18 months. That's likely going to change. The EPA finalized a few weeks ago their draft regulations that reduces the max PFAS in the water from 20 parts per trillion down to 4. So it's a significant decrease. So future years, this replacement time period is probably going to be cut down to possibly yearly. But yeah, it's, you know, we're still going through the first sets of sampling, so there's still a lot of data that we need to bring in to figure out time, you know, what that new timeline will be. As we were tracing the PFAS through the filters, it seemed to be consistent with the current 18-month replacement. So 18 months will put us at around January of next year. So sometime around winter, spring, we expect to have to do the first replacement.
Thank you, Ron.
I'll just clarify a little. The resin is the stuff that goes in the filter. What do we use, Brian? What's the actual component that's in there?
So it's a resin. It's an ion exchange resin, along with anthracite, which is just a bed material.
So as the water flows through and it takes the PFAS out, over time it becomes less and less effective, so it eventually needs to be replaced. We're still working off of our first batch of resin, so we don't have a long history, just to sort of understand how long it's going to take before we need to replace the resin. So he had to submit this article so that we're prepared in the event that we run through it and as it becomes less effective, we can schedule for the replacement of it. And that could happen in the middle of the fiscal year. So that's why ultimately this will become part of the DPW water treatment budget. But at this point in time, it's a little bit too volatile for us to sort of jam that in the budget right now, not understanding how often we're going to need to replace the resin. And we won't really get a good history on that until we actually continue to run water through the resin. We constantly test the effectiveness of it on the output. So hopefully that was a little helpful.
That was a Reader Digest version. We liked it. I know you got a question. Go ahead.
I do have a question.
Yeah, of course you do.
You've learned that look on my face.
I did. 2 years ago.
Brian, you said that the state reduced it from 20 parts per trillion down to 4. Did I hear you correctly?
The federal, yeah.
Federal.
The state was, so Mass was one of the few states in the country that was on the forefront of setting regulations. New York, California, a couple others. And now EPA, the federal level, started getting it in their purview. They proposed it, I think about a year ago today, and it just went through the final phase.
So the 18-month replacement rating is based off the 20 parts per trillion, right?
Yep.
That's a full replacement of the resin every 18 months for the 1.2 million.
That's the full replacement of the first of the lead vessels. So there's 3 lead vessels and there's 2 kind of backup redundant vessels afterwards. So we're required to, for the DEP permit, replace, the first set, not wait till the end, till it spends all of it, because they want the redundancy part. So it's the first 3.
Okay, I have other questions that don't pertain to the warrant article itself that I'll hold on. I won't drag everyone through that. It sounds like we're gonna be up to like $3 million on an annual basis to replace the resin, is what, like, the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, this will cover, so we're also investigating other possible media avenues. One of them you can see if you look at the long-term capital, we have something a few years out for mill pond TOC removals. So one of the things that, one of the media types that we piloted to try to see if it works, it's a cheaper alternative, and the vessels were built because you need more of it, is GAC, granulated the carbon, activated carbon. So but it didn't work too well because there was too much TOC in the water coming through the plant. So if we presumably treat it for TOC, then we may be able to save costs over the life of it going that road. There's one other type of media that we're looking into as well. So we're looking to try to get both redundancy, different, if resin becomes tough to get, we need something. So we're looking to get approval, not only for redundancy, but also cost savings.
Sure.
And then there's so much up in the air on the disposal of it. So it's depending on which, what we're hearing is that a lot of landfills aren't going to take it because of the contamination. So there's currently available to us 2 places to haul it to incinerate. There's one place in New England. If that place doesn't accept it, it has to be railed down to like Alabama, I believe. So this cost is the worst case to incinerate it. If for whatever reason we're able to find landfills that will take it, cut down the cost a good chunk as well.
Okay, so this does account for disposal.
Yep.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In favor of all of these, I just had while we have a quick question, how are things going with the PFAS treatment facility? Is everything going as we had hoped? Any snags? And also, are we on pace for finishing 2B next year?
Yeah, so for the most part, the water's all coming out cleaner than, Russ, our treatment plant manager, says it's cleaner than MWA water that we're bringing in. So the water quality is tremendous after the project. There was a pre-filter requirement that DEP made us add into the project midway through that we weren't prepared for. And so we're troubleshooting some issues with that, but,
Nothing out of the ordinary?
No, treatment systems are pretty complex systems, so it's not unexpected to have something like this to troubleshoot.
We're still on track to finish completion of 2B next year for the MWRA connection?
Yeah, so 2B is that other article that we're asking for, the repurpose. So that will, it's an aggressive schedule. I think we would hope to do the design, get it going this summer, fall, survey, and then hopefully, the earliest would be construction next year, and we're thinking it'll be able to be constructed within one construction season. So if we, it's construction, so we might run into construction issues, which, might push into the following year. But we are, we're asking for the money and want to push forward, get that done as soon as possible.
So the light's at the end of the tunnel, soon we'll be at 6 million gallons we can pull per day. Awesome.
Just to confirm, that link is from Adams Street down to about Mall Road, up the Turnpike.
Yep.
So that's the
We're getting there.
final link.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Any other questions? Nothing? Mr. Denizio, back to you.
That's it.
That's it. We're done with that? Okay. Brian, Tom, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're all set.
Need a motion?
Well, now we would need to vote.
Nah, we're just gonna let it go.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably for May town meeting articles 7-4 to 7-8, numbers 8 through 11, 13, 15, and 16.
Motion made.
14.
And 14.
Motion made.
Second.
Second. By Nick. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, gents.
Sorry for the late night. but
No worries.
Gary was here a long time tonight. I don't know what happened there. All right. Approval for the minutes for the 11th and the 21st.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th and strategic planning March 21st.
Motion made.
Mr. Chairman, I have to abstain from the 21st. I wasn't present.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye for the
Aye,
11th and abstain for the 21st, right?
That's correct.
You got that, Lynn?
I'm abstaining from both.
Oh, you're abstaining from both. That's right, too. Not next time. I all set, Lynn? You got that all? Okay. Subcommittee reports. We'll start with Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have is the Sculpture Park Committee. We met again today to pre-plan some of the leases that are coming up on the sculptures that we have. So starting the process early to look at replacements, not an increase, just a replacement, and then and also to work with the Pigs on Parade, with the high school art department, where a lot of the art students are going to be painting these sculptures for that fundraiser. But nothing written in stone, no pun intended, just yet.
Oh. That was almost as bad as yours. Okay. Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to use this time to talk about economic development. Having had Melissa here at our last meeting, she and I had the opportunity to sit down last week. Well, not sit down, as Paul and Lynn know. It was a walking meeting, so very little sitting. But I'm still standing, and that's the important thing. To really kind of dive into, some call them yellow flags I've been having, right? She gave a great report, a great update, but I've asked her to dig a little bit deeper into some of the numbers. I'm very curious to see what the numbers are around subleases, and I'm really curious to see what our non-registered vacancy is. And by that, I mean, businesses who are part of the community who are not vacant, but their employees aren't here, right? If you recall, she put that list of 10 top, corporate businesses in the community. Among them were, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, Salesforce, Oracle, Nuance/Microsoft. And as we've seen town meeting members report online, and if you've talked to any of them or just driven around town yourself, you'll notice a lot of vacant parking lots, right? And so, yes, while, from a dollars and cents tax perspective, these businesses are paying, property tax, right? Their employees aren't here. And I think it's having an underlying larger effect to the business community that we're not taking a look at. And I want to start to raise that up as a more immediate, concern as we look over the next 5 years for what it means for small, medium-sized businesses specifically, and then for the actual vacancy rate as leases come up and, businesses begin to shift. I think Melissa's 128 plan is a good, smart plan, and I'm looking forward to that discussion at town meeting in September. But that's a long-term plan, right? I think that there are a lot more short-term things that this board, in conjunction with, our office staff and, Melissa, need to be talking about. And so, I'm saying that now during this upcoming report because, Melissa always gives a great report, but I think there's an underlying issue that, without sounding like Chicken Little, we should be taking a closer look at. So that's all I have for tonight, and I appreciate the time.
Come up with Chicken Little.
Sky is not falling. That's right.
Anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just want to report we had the, I believe, 5th meeting of the Police Station Building Committee, and we finally got our cost estimate of $46.2 million for the project. We've been before planning and go before land use tomorrow night. If anyone wants to join, we could use any of your support online. We also just want to let everyone know, if you don't already, we've developed a website for the project that anyone can log into if they want to follow along. It's got existing conditions, it's got the feasibility study, got all types of history of the building and all that types of fun stuff. The website is newburlingtonpoliceproject.org, and I encourage all of us to take a look, and anyone out there who's curious about the project to take a look online. And it's 2-1 Bruins after 1. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sarah, you don't have any subcommittees yet? But
I
you
don't, but
will.
can I make a couple of
Absolutely.
announcements? So I just wanted to close out our last meeting in April to say that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. People may have seen those blue pinwheels around town and the signs. I was recently able to attend the Champions for Children Luncheon, which was a great event put on by the Mama Bear Effect, which is a nonprofit located here in Burlington. Their mission is to educate families and communities all around the world and bring awareness to the issue of child sexual abuse. So you can go to their website, themamabeareffect.org, and they have a ton of free educational resources. Thank you to Adrian for inviting me to that event. It was a really great event. Also wanted to mention that Burlington Culture Night is happening on June 10th. It's a little ways out, but you all know this event. It's organized by the Girl Scouts. It was a big hit last year for their first time. They are reaching out to the community to see if anyone would like to set up a table representing a culture or a country. So hoping to get the word out about that. Their email, if you are interested, is burlingtonculturefest@gmail.com. That's all.
We all went to that last year. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
We all went and took pictures and had a good time.
Yeah.
I think Nick put a hat on and everything.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't the same night as our meeting, because I do it on the table.
Yeah, it's good. As far as the chairman's report goes, I have nothing tonight. Mr. Sagarino, anything at all?
I don't have anything,
Lynn?
Mr. Chairman.
No.
JD? Nothing. Nobody has anything. All right. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Burlington.